In stats today, we started experimental design. This is section 4.2. We have a lot of terminology to go over. We have starting out observation versus experiment. When you're looking at those two, ask yourself, were treatments given in the situation? And for an observation, no treatments are given. They're going to type observational studies in such a way that they look like experiments. It's going to be tempting to say an experiment, but ask yourself, was the situation manipulated? Were things influenced to determine a response? Or was it just simply asking questions, maybe counting things, maybe measuring things? You're allowed to measure anything you want. You can ask questions about past tense and present tense. You cannot ask a subject to do anything, but you can ask them questions. You can measure whatever. So experiment, treatments are given. Confounding is tricky because, we design an experiment and we think there's this explanatory variable down here, right here, that has an effect on something. I almost said cause, but that's tricky also. We think that explanatory variable has an effect on something and we have a response. But if we have a confounding situation, that means there's some other variable that I'm not interested in. Maybe I did not control it for whatever reason, and it may affect the response. And now I don't know if the explanatory variable determined the response or if this other variable did. So I have a confounding situation. A variable we are not interested in that is not controlled I think this new way of teaching is going to have an effect on people's test scores. But maybe I have no control over sleep. And so students show up to the test super tired and they perform poorly. Or maybe before I started teaching the new way, people were sleeping badly. And then I got them all fired up about doing well on this test. I was teaching them well, but they also started sleeping better. Maybe their test scores go up because they sleep better, not because I'm teaching any better. So this thing that I'm not interested in, I don't control it, and it has an effect on the response. This is typically information we find out afterwards. Typically, it's also a poorly constructed experiment, but sometimes it's not poorly constructed. Maybe you just didn't know about this variable, this unknown variable, and later on, after the fact, you write your conclusion, turn in your dissertation, and you find out there was something you didn't account for, and now your response variable is not necessarily trustworthy. Treatment, that one's obvious. It's what you give to the subjects. Experimental unit, this is who or what receives treatments. Seems obvious, but people mess that up many times. You want to be as specific as possible. Explanatory variable, that's like my X, that's my independent variable. I think it has some kind of association with a response, which is my Y or my dependent variable. All right, let's practice with an actual problem. And what we're going to do is identify the parts. So maybe hit pause and think about each of those 4 things. And I'm going to do it right now. So experimental units, who or what received the treatments? I would say the students at the 14 middle schools. Some people have a hard time with that and they want it to be 7. But all 14 middle schools were part of the experiment. So even though 7 of them just got the standard curriculum, those students at the 14 schools were subjects, did receive something, even though part of it was like a baseline in Forsyth County. Explanatory variable, type of curriculum or curriculum taught. I think that has an effect on all those response variables up there. I'm going to do treatments though first. Curriculum type, career start. Was it start? I keep thinking it says stat or standard. And then we have a lot of response variables. That starts right here and ends with that right there. So many things are being measured. Student attendance, behavior, standardized test scores, level of engagement. I don't know how you measure that. And graduated or not. High school. All right, let's try another one. So we have another one. Hit pause again. Try it yourself. Write those 4 things out. I'm going to do it right now. At the very top, I have it written down that treatments can be over different factors, and then each factor can have a level. So be aware of that. We'll deal with that in a second. Experimental units, I would say the 120 undergrad students. If you want to say that volunteered, that's fine. I don't think it's crucial here. I'm just identifying the person. But, I mean, it's not wrong to say who volunteered. Explanatory variable, I would say the length of the ad, like time. And the number of times, the repetition. I can't remember who said that. I think it was Mahmood said that in class. That was a good word. Treatments, we have 6, and you need to list them out. As long as the reader can figure out what each treatment is. So you could say something like 90 seconds and 30 seconds, and then you could make like a little tree if you want. You could do them in parentheses. So 1 time, 3 times, I think in all classes, and this 3rd time, I'm writing it differently, but as long as your reader can figure out what all 6 treatments are. Maybe over here, write 6 treatments. And I think that's pretty clear. Response variable was a few things. What did they remember? Attitude. And intention to buy. Hope that made sense. I will see you in class.